Hello everyone, here we are going to talk about the Unit 6. The topic is the interoperability and standard. So here is the outline for this unit. First of all, we are going to introduce what exactly is the interoperability, and then later on we are going to talk about the standard, what's the role of the standard to the interoperability, and also the standard communities. And after that, as this course is mainly talking about the geospatial WebGIS, then in this case we are going to talk about the geospatial data model and also data format standards. And specifically, we are going to pick the GeoJSON and also the OGC observation and measurement, these two standards to introduce to you guys. And then after that, we will talk about the geospatial web service standards, and we pick the OGC WMS, the web map service, and also the OGC Sensor Sync API Part 1 as examples for the geospatial web service standards. And after that, we will give you some examples about the standard-based applications. And finally, we will have some remark in terms of the remaining problems in terms of achieving the interoperability in the modern world. So first of all, we are going to talk about the interoperability. So previously, in the previous unit, we talked about the architecture of the WebGIS, and or you can say the architecture for an information system, and we also talk about the styles for the web services, such as the traditional SOAP standard, which use the envelope and also header and body to you can say enclose the actual message to be transmitted across the client and also the service. And we also talk about the REST, or you can say the RESTful web services proposed by the Roy Fielding. And then we also talk about the geospatial web services types in terms of the data service, analytical service, and also discovery service. And we mention some of the optimization to the quality of services. So, but however, although we introduce that the role of the web service is to support some resources, including the data or including the processing to the client. And as long as the web service can release their API document to the client, then any client can follow that API document to understand how to communicate with the web service. But however, there's one thing that we haven't really touched, which is the actual request and response between the client and services. So how to ensure that the client and service they can really exchange information. So in here we are going to talk about the interoperability. So because our you can say our you can say context is in terms of the GIS, and when you are talking about interoperability in GIS, there is a very important paper to cite or to read, which was written by Bisher in 1998. So he defined that the interoperability is the ability of a system to provide information portability and also inter-application cooperative process control. So this definition is a little bit difficult to understand. So let me give you one example. So basically, the interoperability is to allow the information to be transmitted and to be understood by two independent systems. So for example, if there are two systems, for example system A and also system B, they want to communicate with each other, then in this case the system B could ask system A a question, or you can say send a request to system A. And then the system A will when it receive the request, and then it will try to understand the request, and then after it understand it, and then it will send back a response to the system B. And when the system B receives that, then the system B will try to understand the response, and then and also correspond to the question or the request that the system B sent earlier. So the reason that the system A and system B they can transmit information, or they can understand each other, is because inside their you can say knowledge, this request it corresponds to this response, so that they can understand each other. So basically, it's kind of like the communication that we have every day between human beings. For example, the reason that you guys can understand what I'm saying in this video is because the information I transmitted to you is can be understood by you, and also we have the same context, so that you can understand what I'm saying. And between the human beings, actually, it's kind of flexible. If sometimes you can say the system B or the person B asks person A a question, and if the person A doesn't, he or she doesn't understand, then he or she can send another question to ask the person B to further clarify the question. And so that at the end we can find out the system A and system B, they are in the same context. And as long as they are in the same context, then the information could be transmitted. But however, that information can be transmitted based on one requirement, and that requirement is that between the human beings, they need to speak the same language. The system A and system B, or person A and person B, they need to speak in the same language. And as long as these two systems they have the same understanding to the language, it doesn't matter it's a Chinese or it's English or it's or you can say Taiwanese. So it doesn't matter which language that they are using. Then as long as they have the same language, then they have the you can say they have the platform to transmit the information between these two systems. Okay, so basically that's the interoperability. Let me repeat it again because it's very important. So the interoperability basically means that the ability for two independent systems to transmit information. So that is the interoperability. So in the Beecher's paper, actually he defined different levels of the interoperability in terms of the GIS, or in terms of the information system. So as you can see here, the left hand side is the system A and the right hand side is the system B. So the interoperability could be achieved across different levels. For example, you could have the interoperability in terms of the network protocol between the system A and system B, which means that as long as they have the same network protocol, then they can transmit information. And or you can say it could be the HTTP, it could be the FTP, it could be Telnet. So the network protocol is basically means this type of level. And then the interoperability can be on the hardware or in operating system. So for example, the system A and system B, they could have they could be using the same operating system. So in this case, maybe maybe they can just for example directly communicate with each other from the system level, or from the operating system level. And then the next level could be the spatial data files. Then that means, for example, the system A and system B, they could have been using the same coordinate system. They could be using the same format or same data format of the spatial data. For example, like the shape file or other types of format. Then as long as they are those formats or those like coordinate systems or those settings are you can say coherent with each other across the system A and system B, then you can achieve this level of interoperability. And then the database management system, as well as, for example, these two database management systems, they could be using the same DBMS. Then they can directly connect with each other by having, for example, the connector supported by that DBMS. So that could be this level of interoperability. Then in terms of the data model, so for example, the system A and system B they could have been using the same data model specified by or by a third party or by a certain you can say standard. Then in this case, the system A and system B, their data model could be you can say connected together, or they can directly integrate it with each other. Then finally, you can say kind of like the more abstracted level is the semantic. So the system A and system B, they could be describing the information under the same semantic or under the same you can say ontology. So they have the same meaning to a specific term, or for a specific term, they have the same understanding. Then in this case, the application semantics is it can achieve the interoperability across the system A and system B in this semantic level. So in the Bisher's paper, he actually introduced these different levels of interoperability quite clearly. So I would encourage you, you guys, if you are interested in the interoperability, or if your research is about the interoperability, then I strongly encourage you guys to take a look at this paper. So why interoperability is important? So right now we know what interoperability is. Then let's briefly talk about why interoperability is important. So to talk about or to discuss this question, actually let me ask you another question, which is the earliest work that you can think of that is helping to achieve interoperability in the Chinese history. Alright, so is there any activity or any work that has been done to achieve interoperability in the Chinese history? Okay, so you can pause the video over here if you want to try to think about what exactly is the earliest work that you can think of. Okay, so the answer, or you can say, in my personal opinion, the earliest work that tries to achieve the interoperability in the Chinese history that I can think of is this you can say emperor, and then that is actually the Qing dynasty. So it's like a very long time ago, but however, till now, then if you still remember history from your junior high school, then you should already have some idea about what this emperor has done in the past. So basically, he tries to unify. You can say the width of those are the horse cars, and then the width he kind of defined that the width of these cars are the same, so that the road can be you can say built with the same with the same setting, or the same standard, you can say. And also the writings, the words, it had also been unified as well. Before the Qing dynasty, there are a lot of you can say kind of like countries in the whole mainland China region, and they are using different languages. They have different words, and then because Qing dynasty unified all the countries, they define one version of the words, the words that everyone should be using. And in terms of the you can say currency as well. So those like the currencies across different countries, originally they were using different standard or different different units, and then at the end Qing dynasty unified by using this type of coins. And then here is about the weights and also the volume and also the scalar. So everything about those measurements or measurement tools also has been unified by the Qing dynasty. So as you can see, the reason that they want to do this is because across different countries there are a lot of different you can say standards, and then it's very difficult to you can say communicate with each other or to like achieve the interoperability across different countries. So in this case, if there is a strong force that demand you that you should use a certain standard, then in this case, the communication between each other or different countries or different regions can be unified. So everything will be very smooth to transmit the information. Okay, so that's the you can say kind of like the earliest work to achieve interoperability in the Chinese history that I can think of. And if you have other you can say story or other other even earlier work, then feel free to let me know. Okay. And then you can also think about the interoperability issue in our current world, in the modern world. So actually, you can think about what are the things that is not interoperable. Then on the other word, you can say when people are transmitting information or are communicating with each other, then if there's anything that is different from each other, and then that could be what we call the heterogeneity issue. The heterogeneity issue means different. So those differences it will cause the interoperability issue. Alright, so then in this case you may be able to think of a lot of things, in that we still have the differences in the current world. So for example, here one example is the you can say the power you can say the power socket and also the plugs. And then as you can see, different region or different country they support different types of socket and different types of plug. Then in this case, if you want to, for example, if you want to use the electronic devices in another country, then you need to find out how to you can say convert one system to another system, so that the electricity can be obtained by just plugging into the socket. So that is one of the interoperability issue in the modern world. And there are many other interoperability issues. For example, like the example that I gave you earlier, the communication between the human beings. If we are using different languages, and then those different languages, they are the differences. So if one person he or she only knows the Mandarin, and then the other person only speak in for example English, then in this case these two persons they are not able to understand each other. Then in this case they don't have the interoperability. Alright, they don't have the interoperability between each other. So in this case, the differences in terms of the languages that we are using every day, that also has the interoperability issue. Okay, so there are many other interoperability issues that we can that we can find in the modern world. So you can try to think about some of them, and then try to help you to understand the issue of the interoperability, and also hopefully through that you can understand that achieving interoperability is very critical, and also very you can say there are a lot of benefits to have the interoperability.